Bow, bow.
How to Ski It episode 29 is what I'm told is, I can't, having two podcasts, I've been wanting to talk about this. They're about two totally separate things. We have How to Ski It and we have 500 Cats, and we have dogs in the studio for
Parkour.
both. But it's weird because one of them's got like 10 more episodes than the other and I can't keep up. But anyway, this is How to Ski It episode 29. Skiing's been pretty good lately.
I'd say so.
Oh, yeah.
Lots of snow.
Yeah, and we haven't done an episode in like 2 weeks, so we maybe go back a couple weeks to Dust on Crust and
the Eldora story.
Yeah. Well, that's the Eldora story, but I was going to tell a story that happened at Eldora.
Oh, we haven't told that story yet.
We haven't. I got skied into.
Yeah, he got clipped.
It's
He
been
got his
that
wings
long.
clipped.
I got clipped, and the person was only going very slow, but they hit me from behind, and they didn't hit me. They hit my ski, the tail of my ski, which took my ski out from under me.
It was a clip and run.
And I fell
Yeah.
flat on the ground, and the dude tried to take off.
You know what I will say is he took off, but I don't know that he knew how to stop based on the way he was
Yes,
snowboarding.
I agree.
But he did take off,
He did not stop.
and he didn't say anything. He glanced back. He didn't
Yeah.
make any acknowledgement. He just kept going.
And when it first happened, I was more just like, whoa, that was weird. Because, like
Yeah.
I said, we're talking a couple miles an hour, but the way it hit my tail, my weight was on that leg. I fell to the ground.
Yep.
So I got up, and then like the fire inside started to grow. So I caught up to him, and I said, hey, man, you just ran into me. And I wasn't like angry. I wasn't like going after him. And that's where, the point that maybe he couldn't stop because he didn't stop.
Yeah.
And he looked at me like wide-eyed. So I skied in front of him a little bit, and I didn't touch him, but it made him crash.
Yeah.
So you pushed him down.
With his eyes. He pushed him down with his eyes.
tackled
I'll
him.
say this. I was watching the whole thing happen, and I could see how, from an outside perspective, not knowing what was happening, you might think that he pushed him down. But he definitely didn't. I was watching the whole thing, but it was like Dave very gingerly skis in front of him and is kind of like trying to guide him and talk to him, and the dude just falls down.
Poor guy.
And then a bystander, we think was a bystander, and saw it and thought like I was the aggressor. He didn't see me get skied into. And so at this point I was the aggressor. And he came up, and not that he like got super involved, but he's like, yo, bro, the guy can't snowboard. Like I should be sympathetic because he can't snowboard. And maybe I should have.
Yeah.
Because
I mean, I think taking the opportunity to teach someone, hey, you can't just leave. You need to stop.
And at what speed of a collision does the state law kick in that you can't leave the scene of an accident? Was this that kind of accident? No. But yeah, like I did think it was a teachable moment that if you ski into somebody and knock them down, you got to just stop and say, I'm sorry, make sure they're okay.
Yeah.
And we would have went our ways and I wouldn't have been upset because things happen on the mountain. But the fact that it appeared to me that he was fleeing.
The slow speed flee.
But then to wrap the whole story up, we continued on with our day. We soon moved on in life. It was Dust on Crust, not the best ski day ever, but any ski day is better than no ski day.
Yeah.
But then we started, I guess, joking like, because we saw the other guy, and that's when we realized they probably weren't together.
Yeah.
And then one of us said, well, he probably quit snowboarding after
Yeah.
that. And then I felt bad.
Yeah.
Because if I was a part of, and again, just to be super clear, I didn't go after the guy with anger or malice. I went as an, just like to tell him, and then he fell down.
Yeah.
But he quit ski.
Yeah, he's done.
But
He's
wait, I have
never
a
going back
question
to
though.
that
Like
mountain.
when you said, "Hey, dude, you can't just hit somebody, knock them over, and keep going." Like, what was his response?
It wasn't really sorry. It was I didn't know. I don't know. I'll be honest. I don't know what his response was because I was so mad. No, I'm just kidding.
Just seeing red.
I don't know what his response was because when it was his turn to respond is when the third party showed up.
Yeah.
And kind of took over the conversation. And then he was sitting on the ground telling the third party to stay out of it because he was like, he's right. He was saying I was right. And at that point, I was like, this isn't, again, I wasn't like angry to the point that I was like, it's time to get on with skiing. And I said, I'm not mad. I just want you to know this. If you ski into somebody and knock them down, you gotta
stop.
And then to end this story, we'll move on. 2 miles an hour. I fell down. My wrist is still hurt.
I was about to say,
man.
like, the way I heard this story was he's like, oh, man, my wrist hurts. And I was like, well, what happened? And that's when he told me the story. I was like, oh, my gosh.
It didn't hurt at the time.
Yeah. Adrenaline.
Yeah, well, I guess that's the hand that I tried to break my fall with.
Right.
And then it just hurts. Unfortunately, the only time it really hurts is skiing.
Well, it's like my neck only hurts when the cops show up after the car crash. Oh, yeah. Oh.
So anyway, not great conditions. And then we had a day up there at Copper Mountain in this dry spell, and it was almost 40 degrees with a 40-mile-an-hour wind, and lo and behold, that makes snow amazing.
Yeah.
And it was one of the better days of the year because the snow was amazing everywhere. So even at the bottom of the mountain, everywhere you could go, it was amazing. And just a quick little story about that day, the entrance to the Super B area was like an ice skating rink, and maybe 25% of the people that walked through there fell.
Oh, man.
Fell down hard.
That's crazy.
And this will lead into another story. And the two people I was skiing with, one of them right here, Melinda, and her friend Ashley, I thought they were being Karens, but in the end, they probably saved a lot of people from getting injured. They went inside the building there to tell.
Well, no, we went inside. You were on a conference call, and we were like, well, we're not going to be able to ski all day, so we might as well just wait on Dave for his conference call. So we hit the cafe, grabbed a Gatorade, and we were sitting there, and you just watched people. Every time the bus unloaded from the Alpine lot, you would see the people come through, and no joke, a minimum of one person per bus load, at least one person fell. And I looked at Ash and I said, maybe I should just tell someone. So I didn't Karen. So I went over to the front desk and I said, hey, listen, is there anybody that can maybe throw some salt down? I'm just watching a lot of people fall. And I could tell they kind of were like, whatever, lady, which is fine. But we had just seen someone fall and grab their shoulder, like maybe they broke their collarbone. And so I leave and they're like, we'll get somebody out there. But they didn't have any sense of urgency to it until as I'm walking away, a woman is coming up in tears. And she's like, the way that they have the area set up, you couldn't tell there was people at the service desk because there's two separate service desks and one was unmanned. So she walks over and she starts like to cry even harder. There's no one there. And I was like, no, there's people there. Are you okay? And she was like, yeah, somebody I'm with just fell and hurt themselves. And so immediately she walked up and somebody started grabbing coffee cup size, like a large coffee cup full of ice and ice melt, and went out and was like spreading the ice melt. And then she came back and got another coffee cup. And so she did probably, I'm not joking, like 15 trips of 2 handfuls of coffee cup ice melt to get the area, like stomping on it, getting the ice cleared. And then I saw the ski patrol van come up, load someone up, and drive away.
Oh, man.
It was that bad.
That's wild.
You just watched? You didn't help her spread the ice melt?
Well, they spread the ice melt.
She had this big smug look on her face and was like, I did
that.
That was me.
They spread the ice melt, and it made it way worse.
Really?
No.
It went from an ice skating rink to a slip and slide.
But it was slick. I did a Scooby-Doo there, and then why don't we go over to Ryan, went to Copper Mountain a few days later, and...
Yeah, we were at the Far East lot, so the East Alpine lot. We're walking up, and lady's spreading her sand. Hey, good morning. Good morning. Isabel takes no more than 3 steps out of the area where the sand was spread, and her feet just go parallel to the ground, and she lands directly on her hip, and it ruined a powder day.
Oh, man.
Man, and all I hear in my head is that sound from the cartoons. The yep.
Yeah, and then, she had her skis in her hand and her poles in her other hand, so she didn't, catch her hip, caught her fall. And the lady spreading sand, you could just see, almost like the color run out of her face. Like she didn't get there in time, and she helped pick up the skis. She felt so bad. And then we tried to ski, but Isabel was just in a lot of pain, so we had to call it quits.
How's she doing now?
She's fine. It's sore.
She's fine.
It's one of those things that it just hurts for a couple of days.
Yeah.
It's like a deep bruise, and it's more just super uncomfortable. We've all been there. Like when you land on your tailbone or something, and you can't sit comfortably. The ride home was hard for her. Just sitting in that position, and sitting on the chairlift. We got on the Alpine chair, and it's a pretty long chair. It's slow, and she was trying to adjust, and there's no footrest, so it was just, you could just tell that she was super uncomfortable, and it was time to go.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
I was allowed to ski by myself apparently, but I didn't feel like that was a good idea.
That was a trick. That was definitely a trick.
Now, when it comes to skiing, it's not. She was super sincere, but I wanted to make sure she was all right, and it was starting to get a little crowded. It was not crowded though. On a President's Day weekend powder day, the Super B line was no longer than the ropes.
Yeah, that's interesting. I do know I-70 got closed. I don't know where, but I don't care how good you are, you're gonna fall someday.
Yeah,
because of ski boots.
Yeah, definitely. And
ski boots are nice.
It is what it is. I will say, going back, that weekend started off rough with a 5-hour drive on Friday up I-70.
Yeah, well, let's just jump in on.
And I don't know what
bashing I-70.
I'll go first, please. So we left Boulder at I don't know, what was it, 3:45?
Yeah,
4 o'clock at the latest.
sounds right.
On the PM.
On the PM, yep. And it was Friday. It was head up. Yeah, I expected it to take about 2 hours, maybe 2.5. It was snowing. It's a Friday on a weekend or holiday weekend. 5 hours later, we make it to Silverthorne.
5 hours to Silverthorne?
To Silverthorne.
Man.
Not Vail.
Yeah.
Not Aspen. Silverthorne. And the entire...
Wait, so tell the people who don't know how long that drive should take.
Oh, so for reference, on Sunday when we drove home at 9 a.m., it took 1 hour and 10 minutes from Silverthorne to Westminster.
Colorado.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So
5
the whole
hours.
drive, I was trying to figure out what's happening. So it was right past the Winter Park exit. Everything came to a stop. We were going 70 miles an hour, cruising. This is great. There's going to be some snow up by Loveland Pass in the tunnel, and we'll slow down. Dead stop for 45 minutes. No movement. I'm like, man, that's kind of weird. Usually, we creep. There's an accident or something. And it was like that. Once we started moving at 5 miles an hour, it was like that stop and go 5 miles an hour all the way to the tunnel.
Man.
And I couldn't really figure out why. The only things I saw was a fender bender, that people didn't move their car to the, in the left lane. They were just no one's hurt. The cars are barely damaged, but they're out of their car. They're looking at their bumper, pointing fingers at each other. And you're like, dude, just this giant shoulder.
Take a picture, move out of the way.
Yeah, just move this. No one's injured. Move it out of the road. And then I saw the chain up stations were a mess with all the semis trying to put chains on. And since the semis had filled all the parking spots in the chain up station, the pedestrian vehicles that were trying to put chains on their car were now in the right lane. Or at least halfway out into the right lane, which created this weird merge. And when there's snow-packed roads, you can't see the lines anyway. So it's create your own lane as it is. And then there was an avalanche on Loveland Pass, which created, I think the plow stopped all traffic to let emergency response through. But apparently, in Colorado, people don't know that when there's a ambulance coming, you're supposed to move out of the way.
Yeah.
It was really weird. And ambulances are just honking and wee-wooing, and no one's doing anything.
That's crazy.
It was a very surreal 5 hours of just what is happening on this highway. Because the roads weren't that bad. There was snow on them.
Yeah.
I'm
But they weren't
betting.
slick.
Here's my guess: is obviously people are idiots, so that's not a guess. That's a fact. Is that the Loveland Pass avalanche, which did get a car? Somebody was in that avalanche. They're okay, but they closed that, which then caused the hazmat and people that would have gone over. They do a closure on
The tunnel
the
every
tunnel
hour.
every But then I think on and then semi trucks, as we all know, that don't have their chains on, and then people that then lose momentum because they're behind one of those semis, they get sideways, and it just becomes a.
And then the big thing was 2-wheel drive rental cars on a holiday weekend, which you can identify by the red plates, the fleet vehicle plates.
Which is nice.
Yeah, stay away from the red plates.
Do you know why they close the tunnel to let hazmat vehicles through?
Yeah, because if a hazmat vehicle goes up under the tunnel, then you're trapped, and that's a lot of death.
Yeah, and it's more like tankers.
Yeah.
And if a tanker were to catch fire in the tunnel, it would just suck all the air out of the tunnel. So they
the air.
So they minimize the number of vehicles in the tunnel to just people driving hazmat vehicles every. I don't know. I don't know. It's like every hour.
I think it's an hour, and it closes for like 5
until
to 10
they get
minutes
them
or something.
through
Yeah,
and they come out the other side.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's 10 or 20 of them.
Mm-hmm.
If you're lucky or unlucky, however you want to say it, to get stuck at the top, you get to see all the action happen where they're all parked off to the right, and then they all go through the tunnel, and then about the time you think they should be out the other side, the light turns green.
Yeah.
So anyway, I-70, I got to spend some time. So to catch up on this weekend, Thursday, and I'm just going to give rough numbers, the Central Mountain ski areas all got like 10 inches. Friday, they all got like 15 inches. Saturday, another 15 inches. Sunday, they reported these huge numbers on Sunday, but they kind of fell on Saturday during the day, and we'll talk about that. And then Sunday night, another 5 to 10 inches at all these ski areas. And then the ski report today was a little bit less, but a few people were reporting double digits still. So we're talking 40 to 50 inches.
I've got some snowfall totals here for the last 7 days. 24 inches Eldora, 44 inches Winter Park, 50 inches Loveland, 30 inches Keystone, 22 inches at A Basin, 40 inches at Copper and Breck, 53 inches at Vale, 37 at Crested Butte, and 30 to 34 depending on the mountain at Aspen.
How much at Vale?
Vale is 53 inches over the past 7 days.
And we'll move on to Vale in a second, but I was lucky enough to be there.
Yeah, you don't really like Vale though, right? If I remember correctly.
I have, and we'll talk about this too in a second, I have what's called ski karma. And, and I said, if ski karma pays out, the pass is going to close, but we'll already be over it. And that happened. And so I got to ski more than half of that 50 inches on Saturday with nobody on the mountain.
That's awesome.
Except me.
Yeah. Back to I-70, to get to Vale, you have to drive I-70. And I have a new theory / complaint to put blame. And we've always picked on our legislature of not making any improvements to the road, not making any meaningful. If you're not from Colorado, you might be able to Google that they put in like a toll lane, but it's only open 100 days a year, and it doesn't really play a role. It wasn't open on either of my nightmare days on I-70 this weekend. But the problem is the drivers. And I'm going to give props to CDOT. They plowed the smokes out of the road. I mean, it was
the smokes.
I was going to say a bad word, but I caught myself. They
No, I'm serious. Yeah, no, I'm agreeing with you. They did a really good job.
They did a really good job. Short of Sunday night going by Copper Mountain, there was 6 inches on the interstate, but it was nuking. So that they can't keep up with that. But driving up there was a pickup truck on snow-packed roads, swerving in and from lane to lane. You could tell he had no concept of physics. An awful driver, old dude, just, you guys are in my way. We kind of joked that he's heading up to his ranch in like Fraser and he's angry about ski traffic. But, and then both directions, semis with no chains. And there are laws in Colorado, and there's VMS boards, video message service boards. every few miles on I-70. And so long before you hit snowpacked roads, it says commercial vehicles must have chains, must be chained up.
And it tells you the mile marker of where the chain up station is.
And yet, so CMVs have to carry chains until like the end of May.
Yeah, I saw that.
It's like May 31st.
Yeah, the end of May.
You have to at least have them. And then it'll say like Silverthorne to the tunnel or Loveland Pass, you need to have chains. But then you look at the eastbound lane when you're coming down westbound and it's Lincoln logs of trucks.
And so the trucks drive up. If you're not familiar with I-70, it's an interstate, obviously, but it goes up into like 11,900 feet at the top. And it's treacherous, and places like Vail Pass, it's steep. And these trucks get to those spots and lose momentum because traffic often stops, and then they can't start again. They're just spinning their tires. And even though there's laws and there's tickets that could be written, the state has ignored them. And if you want to Google in the Vail Daily, the newspaper in Vail, it was all over the internet. The mayor wrote a letter to the governor that said, you got to fix this. This is an easily fixable problem, but because the state patrol has turned a blind eye to it, the pass is closing. And he threw a number out that when Vail Pass closes, it costs the state $2 million.
You know what's interesting is Mayor Coggin
That's my new dog.
He's not the one who said the $2 million thing, though. It was a CDOT spokesperson. Charles Marsh, he said that shutting down I-70 can cost $1.6 million an hour.
An hour.
That's insane. And I figured it was Vail inflating their own egos, but that's CDOT saying this is true. And the Colorado State Patrol said that they issued how many citations for chain law violations do you think should be issued between 23 and 24?
Sunday night, there should have been, and again, my time on I-70 was like 4 hours.
Yeah.
Sunday night should have been 40 vehicles.
Yep.
So then let's just take 100 days a year.
That's only a brief hour.
Yeah, but
Or 4 hours.
it should be in the thousands, and I know it's in the hundreds.
Over through 23 and 24. So
2023,
2 years.
2024.
Yes, thank you. It is 1,000.
So 500 a year.
500 a year.
And that's just, they're not enforcing it.
Yeah, exactly.
And so then
Insane.
the governor responded, because I think the letter was somewhat directed at him.
Yeah.
And the governor responded, and I'll be honest, we're not going to get political, but I support Jared Polis for the most part. And he's like, there isn't a problem. It's fine. We're doing our job. Just stay in your lane, is what he said to the mayor, which is there's the problem. Is the guy that could fix the problem with the stroke of a pen has decided not to. And this is where commerce for trucking has trumped commerce for tourism in our state, which is getting political, but it has. And so anyway, not to rag on all day about I-70, it was awful. The drive both directions was delayed by hours because of semis without chains and cars, but mainly semis. They get stuck, they slide sideways, they block the road. It's as simple as
Or
that.
they come to, they're going 5 miles an hour and it turns it into a 1-lane highway. Because you have to pass. And so it's a whole thing. I wonder how many of those 1,000 tickets were written by pulling over a semi and not just a semi who got stuck and the cops had to come bail them out.
Those were all stuck semis. They probably have to write them a ticket after the roads close for them. So it probably was closed 1,000 times in 2 years.
Yeah,
No,
that sounds accurate.
That's an easy way to write the ticket, right?
Yeah.
Oh, you're stuck on the road and you can't go and we have to call a tow truck. Here's your summons.
But what's interesting is they have it's not a state patrol. They have helpers out there. But one of the other things we were talking about is the state has helpers in little, in vests and safety vests out there helping the truckers. But the number of chains that you see laying on the side of the road is honestly,
side,
if
in the
you
middle.
wanted to collect them all, you could just sit there and sell them. And you know what I mean? I feel like because truckers clearly don't know how to put them on. They're hoping that the road isn't going to be snowy when they go through, so they don't know how to put them on. So there's just everywhere in the road.
I think I found the problem. Professional drivers who fail to put on chains when required will be cited that's right, $100 fine.
Oh,
I
wow.
would never put chains on.
Why would they do that?
I would never put chains on because the time that you stop and put
45
chains on
minutes.
an 18-wheeler, I'm guessing is like an hour.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's people that can do it in 15 minutes, but
Right.
You got to pull them out. You got to lay them down. You got to move forward. Then you got to cinch them together. It's
And
right.
they only do the front 4 tires of the.
they only do the tires that have
the drive.
Yeah.
Yeah. But how much do you think is a reasonable amount to charge if they shut down traffic completely?
Well, what do you think happens if I cost the state, no matter how I do it, $1.6 million? I probably go to jail. I'm not saying truckers should be thrown in jail.
Yeah, right.
It should be a $1,000 ticket. It should eliminate your profit for the day. It should be a big enough penalty that it's not worth the risk. And the hour it takes to put on chains are the price of doing business in Colorado. And there's other interstates. So there's I-80, which it's up north of us. It goes through Wyoming. It's worse because the wind blows. And then there's I-40, which is south of us. So there's other paths. And then there's state highways and stuff like that. But
What is it, Marcus?
It's a $1,000 fine if you completely shut down traffic. One lane closure is $500 fine.
Oh, interesting.
yeah,
I don't think $1,000 is enough for stopping the entire I-70.
I agree. And so, again, we've laid a lot of blame on CDOT, but it goes, I'm not releasing blame on the state of Colorado because in the end, the State Patrol and CDOT are all government agencies that aren't doing an easy fix. Fix. You could require chains. There's pull-offs. You could require the trucks to drive through the chain up station and be inspected.
Yeah.
That would slow down traffic overall, but you wouldn't get stuck in Vail overnight.
Yeah.
Or get stuck in which happens to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people every year. But so the problem with I-70, CDOT did a great job plowing, was other drivers, not just trucks, but just bad drivers. One last thing on traffic, and then we'll talk about skiing again. And I maybe saw 10 cars that did this, and I need some help on why in the world you would ever do this. Why would you drive in the left lane, which is considered the fast lane? I understand there's not really a fast lane on a powder day, but why would you drive in the left lane with your hazards on and make all the cars go around you on the right? And I'm not kidding. I saw 10 cars doing that. The conditions were awful. I think people were just flat out terrified, but it just seems like...
But get in the right lane.
Get in the right lane.
So what I saw on my adventure was that because so many people had driven in the left lane, you had the 2 strips of concrete, and people are afraid to drive on a snowpack road,
which is way better.
I know, in the right lane, so they get scared and they stick to where they can see concrete. Your car's not going to just slide off the road if you are just driving in a straight line.
Maybe.
Typically.
Yeah, it can.
Yeah, but the funny thing was, I think people are afraid to change lanes.
Yeah.
I feel like they're like, just like if I just stay where I am, the hazard. So when we are on the road and people have their hazards on, I have to hear about it from Dave, sometimes for hours, about what am I missing? What is happening here? Why is that person blah, 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 for hours?
What are hazards for when you're driving? Like I get, like let's say traffic comes to the stop on an interstate and cars are coming up on you hot. You put your hazards on. There's things like that. But driving in the fast lane with what's your message?
I think I can tell you what the message is.
Yes.
Even though it's not what hazards are for, it's literally one more point of visibility for someone who is driving slow and scared and nervous and just hey, I'm here. Just don't hit me. I'm here.
Like their brake lights are out.
No, well, I mean,
See, okay,
a
wait.
flashing
Marcus,
light is more
literally,
visible.
this is what I can give every logical thing to Dave when we're driving, and this is what happens. So, I mean, you can keep going. You're never going to win because he's just like frustrated by it.
I'm frustrated by people driving with their hazards on.
Well, if you have a flat
They're
tire or you're on a
telling-
donut tire, I get the hazards because you can't go to speed. You
And
can't.
you're on the shoulder.
Well, no, you're probably in the slow lane.
Dave, they're telling you that they are a hazard to you, so watch out.
Get in the right
They're
lane.
warning you.
And I don't drive. I'm not the guy like weaving through traffic. Like I'll pass you when you're going 15 in the fast lane with your hazards on. Yes, but I'm not like some mad maniac out on the road.
Yeah.
And I have good, quick decision making. We were driving on this awful Sunday night was one of the worst I've ever seen on I-70. And the car 10 feet in front of us in the lane to the right got sideways. And the conventional wisdom would have been hit the brakes. No way.
You hit the brakes, you're going sideways.
You were
in the-
going sideways.
You were in the van.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I
It's
just,
a tank.
I didn't let
Yeah.
up. It was.
I was like, oh. I mean, that person was, I mean, you could see, like, I was looking, they were right out my window. Yes. And I was like, oh. Like, I was afraid.
Were they able
They
to
looked
correct?
close.
They did correct, but
Okay.
it was right after that there was an accident, and then the rest of the drive, everybody was like chill.
How'd they get sideways?
It was black ice. And
Yeah,
I kind
100%.
of started to suspect it was black ice. And then here's a little driving tip. Don't ever do this when there's other cars around you. But after that, he got sideways. Everybody hit the brakes behind us. We didn't touch the brakes to get through what I thought was going to be a pileup. But then we were driving essentially on our own and you do what's called a brake check. And I
Yeah.
went ahead and hit the brakes, and it was like they were disconnected.
A
Yeah.
light brake
Yeah.
tap, not a hard brake check.
Yeah, just a quick
Yeah.
tap. And if the car slows down or jerks, there's some traction there. If you hit the brakes and nothing happens. So then I went from like 50 to 30
Yeah.
because I was, you want to be at a safe speed at that. But it was a rough day. But anyway, the most snow, I don't ever remember 50-inch storms. We went to Vail. The pass got closed. Nobody was there. I sent you guys
President's Weekend.
President's Weekend. I sent you guys a photo of chair 3 and 4
Yeah,
at like 10:30
empty.
in the morning with not a single person in line. And there was realistically 8 inches of fresh snow on the ground, but it snowed an additional foot while we skied that day.
Yeah.
So by the
Wow.
end of the day, there was 20 inches
Free
of powder.
refills.
Free.
It was like the back bowls were like hella skiing. I shot some video with my 360 cam on chair 3 trees that you guys got to see, which is a
Yeah.
really cool run. And with that much snow on it, you could be really aggressive and just point it. In fact, at the bottom, I got stuck because it flattens out. And then I could go on all day about Vail, but I won't. But I skied a run I've never skied before, and it's called, these are the 3 words. I can't remember the order it goes in. Old Line number 9. Old Line 9. It is at the bottom of the mountain, over on the west side of the mountain, which is very intermediate side of the mountain. And I assume it's an old lift line,
That's what it looks like.
and it was outrageous. It's
Outrageous.
25 feet wide, 1,000 vertical feet of drop, probably, of just, it's like something out of a ski movie. It's just drop after drop after drop after drop, and wiggle turn after wiggle turn, and it was outrageous. So if you get to Vail and that's open on a good day, I have never seen it open when you stop at the top and look down the run. It's usually got a rope across, and it's just a bunch of fallen trees, and you're like, how is that ever open? And it
50 inches.
yeah, 50 inches. So great
Well,
day.
It looks like Old Line 9 is a really big part of their mountain biking.
Oh, I believe it.
So, like, I'm looking, I just Googled it,
Wow,
and
that's
the
cool.
first chunk of videos are all mountain bikers.
That might be, and I'm wondering if that's where the World Championship downhill was back in the 90s. We went to the World Championship downhill and sat next to a cliff that everybody had to go off of. And now that you say that, I wonder if it's kind of,
Yeah.
it seems the same. But if you're,
Oh, it's old 9 line.
No, I think that guy wrote it wrong.
Oh.
and I couldn't remember what it was, but it's an incredible run. Kudos to Vail for opening things they don't need to open.
And
I'm
I would
sorry,
also,
it is old 9
Oh,
line. He was
Some
right.
old local Vailite is pissed that you just name dropped that run.
yeah.
It has a sign.
I'm just saying.
My favorite comments are the people who tell us, like, shame on you for giving away our secret stash.
like Black
I
Bear
do love
Glade.
that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would like to say, if anyone remembers what one of our last couple of episodes was called Mel Hates Big Dumps,
Yeah.
I would like to say the last 2 days that we skied Vail and then we went to Aspen, I'm not going to lie, I had maybe one of my best ski days ever, and it was at Vail with that huge amount of snow. So now Mel loves big dumps.
Yeah, I was.
Well, found our episode.
All right,
title.
episode title.
And it was big dumps of light powder on the lighter side. It wasn't
was fluffy.
champagne, but it was on the lighter side.
Yeah.
True.
So 20 inches was fully skiable. Old Line 9, amazing. And then last thing on Vail, even though I could go on all day, because it maybe was the best ski day I've had in my life.
That's awesome.
I'll always say, like, the back bowls, I wouldn't say they're overrated, but a lot of it faces south. It gets baked by the sun. It's terrible. But when it snows 50 inches, it's like hella skiing.
Yeah.
And nobody was there. And skiing chair 5, I mean, it's like 2,000 some vertical feet, and you weren't crossing other tracks and stuff. And it just was unbelievable. 20,000 vertical feet until I couldn't do it anymore. I was
That's
like, I'm
awesome.
out. Peace.
Yeah, it was literally amazing. It didn't matter. Like you go up the chair, you could go exactly the same spot that you just skied, and you're getting. I mean, for me, I it was to my knees. Like I was pushing through. But on the same note, very sad to say that there is a snowboarder missing right now in Vail and has been for days because of that snow, how deep it was.
Yeah, I hope he like called it a day and went to Utah or something like that. But it sounds like he might be up on the mountain, at least is where his phone was last. And maybe that's why nobody can reach him. I hope he's okay, but it sounds like bad news. And it was snowing so hard, like I said, it snowed a foot while we were there skiing. We had a foot on the car when we left. All you would have to do is fall down and get stuck, and then you're covered by a foot of snow by the end of the day. So hard to find.
The visibility is 0.
We skied a lot of trees, a lot of next to the trees. We've talked about this before. If visibility is bad, whether it's fog or snow, the closer you get to pine trees, the better the light gets. And so just ski down the edge of the run rather than being out in the middle of a bowl where you can't see anything. I struggle. It's probably partly my age, but I struggle with seeing in white light, so I avoid it. So, but great day at Vail. And then we went to Snowmass. Great day at Snowmass. There wasn't a lot of new snow, but they had gotten 30 inches the previous few days. So, and they've had a terrible year, according to a lot of the locals we skied with, rode the chair with. And they were like, this is the first day of the year, first few days of the year, it was good. And it was sunny, so it was a great day.
But I'll have to say, I was a little bit disappointed because after doing what we did in Vail and then looking at the ski report, my assumption was, at least for the beginning of the day, we were going to be skiing powder. And then it wasn't powder. Everything, it had clearly fallen during the day before. And it was soft and wonderful, but it was not a powder day.
It was not, well, the Cirque Dikes were a powder day. Like we did ski some runs. There's a run there called the Cirque Dikes. It gets double diamonds, but it's more double diamonds because there's hazards than it is like double diamond difficulty skiing. There's just a lot of hidden stuff. I got to ski through some rocks.
I like how you say I got to.
Field.
I got to.
Yeah.
If you don't crash, you got to.
Yeah.
So, okay, last subject for how to ski it. And sorry to throw this one, guys, at you, but if you haven't been, and if you're out there listening and you want to know about the news in like the free skiing industry or just skiing in general, rather, is unofficial networks. And one of the stories they've been plugging, which I've seen on a lot of other channels, is about in Idaho, which this will affect Colorado because we mainly talk about Colorado skiing. Before the Idaho Supreme Court is a case that's like testing the protection that ski areas get from waivers. And And the reason I bring it up is it could set a precedent that would affect Colorado. But I always think it's interesting every time these cases come up. And there was one in Vail a couple years ago, Crested Butte rather, and they all say this is going to kill off the mom and pop side of the ski industry.
Yep.
But that's not really who's making that statement. They get the mom and pops to say, like, if Vail could get Ski Cooper to talk about it, which is a mom and pop area here in Colorado, it sounds better than Vail saying, woe is us.
But what is it? What's the case?
Well, and how many mom and pop ski areas are there left?
Apparently more in Idaho.
Two. Oh, I mean,
apparently more in Idaho. And they mentioned one that I'd heard of. And again, I think, I don't have all the details of the story. Maybe Marcus can pop it up on unofficial networks. But and I don't want to mischaracterize, but I feel like every time one of these cases come up to release some of the waiver protection ski areas get, remember we've talked about this, that they can run you over with a snowmobile and it's basically your fault for being out on the slope. That's essentially how, until Vail lost last year in Crested Butte over the young lady that fell off the lift a few years ago, but they always characterize it that this is going to put mom and pop areas out of business, but it really isn't the mom and pops that are making these statements. And it will hurt the mom and pops if the liability is there, but most of the ski industry, remember, is owned by Vail Resorts and Alterra. And that's who stands to lose. And they use state land and they're afforded great protections. And I do think skiing has massive inherent risks that people probably don't understand as well as they should before they go out there. But anyway, that's my rant on that subject. And Marcus seems like he's doing some research. He's our researcher.
Yeah. It was in 2019. He was skiing with, and this is in quotes because clearly this is what the ski resort is asserting, skiing with poor control on a run. And he was skiing on a groomed run. His skis glided onto the back of another person's skis. Then he fell and crashed into the padding attached to his snowmaking gun, and he died from his injuries.
Oh.
And so that's what the lawsuit is going after.
Yeah, and that to me, like if I just was going to kangaroo court rule on it, you were skiing too fast and out of control. If that's what happened, you skied up on somebody else's skis. Yeah. That's hard to connect skis with another skier and ski out of it.
Yeah.
And then, do you guys make sharp turns or go fast around the maintain towers, or you just avoid those?
I avoid those.
And I get when you crash, you lose your ability to avoid them. But one of the things you can do, and this is where I always say people don't understand physics, is eliminate some of that inertia when you're directly heading at the maintain tower.
Yeah.
And then if you want to lay down a really hard, sharp turn on a groomer or something like that, do that to where if it doesn't pan out, you just slide out on the groomer. Don't do that up against the edge of the woods in front of a maintain tower. But again, it's a complicated subject. But my point was, it's not a huge court case. It's not involved with huge corporations, but all of a sudden it just made every skiing channel of this is going to put an end to mom and pop skiing, which I think we all agree everyone at this table does not want that to happen in any way.
Yeah.
But I also don't think the mom and pops got together and flooded the ski media with this story about your mom and pop area near your place is going to close.
Yeah, this is such an interesting case to make it all the way to the Idaho Supreme Court, because I get, like, I don't support full waivers that you have no liability in some kind of thing. Like, I'll tell you what, if the thing didn't have padding on it,
that would be negligence.
Negligence.
Yeah. And that padding's thick. I don't know how thick it was at quote unquote this mom and pop area, but at all the major ski resorts, so Eldora, Copper, Vail, all the places we ski, it's thick. It's 8 inches of padding. That's not going to help you going 60 miles an hour.
Right.
And it's frozen.
Yeah. But in the end, you're hitting something to stop.
Yeah.
Like you're either hitting a tree, you're hitting another person, it sounds like he was going fast enough that he wasn't self-arresting, which,
Yeah.
I mean, God, what a bummer.
Yeah, we
It's
don't want to
terrible.
see anybody lost skiing or hurt. But it's been a never-ending story since we started this podcast, with lawsuits against the ski industry asserting, unbreakable waivers, then making it to, because the one we talked about in Crested Butte went to the Colorado Supreme Court.
Yep.
And they ruled in favor of the family and the girl over Vail Resorts. And that one even sounded not like a slam dunk to me, because
Yeah.
I wasn't there. I'll be clear, but falling off a chairlift, there's an age that if you can't get on the chair, she said she wasn't able, or she couldn't. She identified, I'm not on the chair properly, as it went off, and the person didn't notice. And in this place, somebody crashed into a maintained tower. Skiing's dangerous. You got to look out for yourself. But
No, they skied into snowmaking equipment.
Yeah.
Oh, and Crested Butte?
No.
No.
I'm sorry.
Idaho.
This,
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, it wasn't a maintained
The
tower.
Idaho,
Idaho.
one.
Yeah, the
sorry.
Crested Butte was a chairlift incident.
Yeah.
But it was, so it was snowmaking.
Yep.
So, but it was padded, they're saying.
But it was padded.
Okay.
That's according to this article.
Well, and
So
what's the difference between that and a maintained tower when you're out skiing, as far as?
I would assume that again, I haven't read the lawsuit, but I would assume that your argument would be, this is not a permanent fixture. You put this in a hazardous location on this, whatever run it was. And because of that, you are, and in 2023, the Supreme Court reversed the lower court's ruling, saying that the jury could consider whether the ski resort should be held at least partially liable. So it's not that the Supreme Court is ruling on it, but a lower court said that the ski resort couldn't be held liable. That was taken all the way to the Idaho Supreme Court, who said, no, a jury can decide if that's true or not.
Interesting. And again, we were bringing this up more, that it was such a big story when it isn't such a big story, but that somebody's pushed this out through all the media, and here we are talking about it.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I wonder what's going to happen, because the way I see it, the snow gun's always there.
Some of them are.
Yeah, some of them.
And in a lot
fair.
of ski areas, they close those runs.
True.
While
Very
they're
true.
making snow. Some of them they don't.
Yeah, and I want to go read the whole story, because if you lose control, you lost control.
Well, and that's the thing is, and I know we already said this, but I just want to state it again, since we're all talking about this tragedy, is none of us are like, oh, I can't believe this. Like, it's unfortunate. He wasn't trying to hit someone's skis. He wasn't trying. If he lost control, it's a tragedy. And it's so hard, because you know what? Eldora has signs every time that says space, not speed. And that's it. That's so true, is you need to keep space away from people. The guy who accidentally clipped your skis, snowboarding, you need to stay away from other people. And that can be hard when it's mobbed, but that doesn't make you any less responsible for avoiding people. And if him skiing over someone else's skis in any way caused his crash, I see it so much as a tragedy. It doesn't feel like anyone's at fault. It seems like a terrible, terrible accident.
Okay, so rule on it.
I mean, I don't think I could hold the ski area liable from what I've seen in this article,
Which is all you have.
which is all I have. I have not seen any evidence based on what this article says. I don't think I could hold the ski area liable.
Ryan?
I haven't read anything. I'm only listening. I don't know that you could hold.
You
the
still
ski-
have to rule.
Yeah.
innocent.
The ski area.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I agree. I would say no matter what, if there's a snowmaking gun in the center of a run where it shouldn't be and you ski into it, you did that. Like you were skiing out of control.
Yeah.
Or you can
True.
go around a snow gun. Mel.
I also, like, again, don't know more than what we just all heard. I would rule in favor of the ski area, that they did not cause fault. But I would like to say that I do think in general it is important that the courts do limit the lack of liability that ski resorts have. Like the girl who got hit by the the snowmobile. This is years and years ago. The 9-year-old,
Vail, yeah.
at Vail. They should have been liable. They should have paid for that, and they didn't. So I think that it is important that these cases are coming up and that ski resorts are not given a blanket, not my problem.
Yeah, I agree completely with that.
And this is interesting that it's not like a snowmobile ran over a kid, and it's gotten to the level that it's at.
And that's why I brought it up, to be clear. It wasn't for us to go around and pass judgment, which we did. But was that it was such a big story. I mean, it made unofficial networks. That's where it should have been. That makes sense. Yeah. But then I saw their story get shared by a zillion different ski publications, whatever, websites. But then I saw other people covering the story, like the Vail Daily News and stuff like that. You know, one of the things about the Vail Daily News, which is cool, and maybe I'm just making this up, but I feel like when you're in Vail, it pops up on your social. It just does. Like, they must pay. And then you're like, oh, cool, I'm going to follow this. And then from then on, you're following the Vail Daily News. But somehow, I don't know how they started popping you. Perfect. Great.
But you know what's weird? And I just want to put this out there. I feel like there must be something we don't yet know about this story from the article we read. Because how did it get to the state Supreme Court over an accident that caused a death? Like, I don't know. It just seems like there must be something more.
Yeah. And one other story where I think that made the news, and it had a little bit of a connection back to what somebody I knew, is a person I played rugby with at Western State. And he was coming in as I was going out, as I was graduating, died in an avalanche inbounds at Mary Jane. And horrible. And he had a wife and kids. I mean, just terrible, terrible stuff. But they sued Winter Park Mary Jane. And again, it's not like to have to take sides, but he was skiing in an area that is avalanche prone. It was inbounds, but it's if you're riding up the super gauge and you look over to your right near the top, there's those cliffs, and he was skiing in there. And I'm
correct.
Risk.
They did not win that lawsuit.
They lost that lawsuit also. But, you know, we just skied 20 inches at Vail, and Vail doesn't have a lot of avalanche prone terrain inbounds. It just doesn't. It's not that steep of a ski area. I'm sure over by Blue Sky, there's some stuff. So we didn't really have to think about it. But at Snowmass the next day, everything was open. And you have to, when you go into Rock Island, you have to consider an avalanche. And so anyway, we'll be interested to see how this takes out. We care about both parties. We care about skiers and the general public, but we also care about the health of the ski industry. And again, just to reiterate, we brought this up because it made major ski news. And I feel like that might have been pushed out more by the big conglomerates than it was by the mom and pop areas who stand to lose the most. But it gets your sympathy if you think about Ski Cooper failing to ceasing operations because they can't afford lawsuits and stuff. Nobody wants that.
Speaking of Ski Cooper, are you planning to ski Cooper coming up here in the next couple weeks in March?
I am not.
Are you? But my whole family is going to be skiing Ski Cooper. Little kids taking lessons at Ski Cooper, and you're not going to go?
I'll wave as we drive by.
I am not. I will catch an Uber over to Copper Mountain.
I'll go to Melanzana and get a new sweater or something in Leadville.
So anyway, be safe out there. Best conditions. We say this a lot, but best conditions ever right now for Colorado. I mean, it's just every skier, even Eldora. We're going to try to get up to Eldora this afternoon. Has, as Marcus said, 20 inches in the last 7 days, which is isn't a lot for a lot of ski areas, but it's a lot for Eldora. And we skied there last week, and it was okay. And now that means it's going to be great. Anything else to add?
Marcus is intently researching.
I do want to know why do you think that the big ski industries are the ones pushing this narrative when it would benefit them for the mom and pops to go out of business so that they could buy them?
Oh, I don't think so. I think the mom and pops are a feeder, just like short distance triathlon is to like an Ironman. I see that these small areas get people started. They get that hunger of skiing at an affordable price. People can get in the door, and then they graduate up to the bigger areas where then they start doing their spring ski trips with the family or holiday trips.
Yeah,
So
that's a
I
good
think
point.
they build the industry.
I have an opinion on that. And is there a word that is more than ambivalent? That they are ambivalent to whether the mom and pops make it or not. They could care less. They are only in this to protect themselves, which might be a good strategy. Again,
It's a big word.
Right.
they don't care. They're not going to
Yeah.
buy the mom and pops. Honestly, I think the ski area we're talking about is just a couple lifts. They're not buying that. They don't care.
So you're saying they're the mom and pops or the gum on the shoe of the big
They don't care.
the
Ambivalent.
big
No, because you
industry.
care about gum on your shoe. They don't care at all. That's my thought. And I
Yeah.
don't even mean that in a bad way. I just
Right.
don't think it affects their
Bottom
bottom line. I don't think a lot of people that ski at those mom and pops, I think they're very regional.
Yeah.
So you ski at Ski Cooper if you're in the Leadville area. But if you're in Summit County, I question how many people drive past Copper Mountain to Ski Cooper. Some do, because Ski Cooper, and I'm going to give them major props here, is $100 a day. And that's half the price at Copper Mountain, except on Thursdays. Copper Mountain still does that.
$99.
$99 on Thursdays.
Which is
and
awesome.
And Eldora has that same deal on Wednesdays, I believe, up here at Eldora. And I'm sorry if I missed your ski area, but it's good to share things like that because we've all complained about the affordability of skiing, and then we've complained about lawsuits. So we really just complain.
Yeah, that's the
So a
main
bunch
point of this
complainers.
podcast.
Wait, so let me just
I
say
think-
though, really quick, and then you do yours.
Yeah.
My family is coming up. They are staying in Leadville. They are doing lessons for my nieces who are, I think they're 8 and 11, but don't quote me. It might be whatever. You don't care. But it's affordable for families to come up and teach their kids to ski at these small areas. And then my brother and his wife will go out and ski a little bit too.
Yeah, I want to be super clear. Ski Cooper is amazing. It's just not for me.
Yeah.
And would it be for me if it was the only ski area in the state? Absolutely. But because there's a lot of other choices and I have ski passes a lot of other places is why I won't be spending $100 at Ski Cooper, which 45 minutes away is Copper Mountain, which is free because I have an Icon pass.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
anyway, anything else?
I just have one other thing that I think we should end this on. With the amount of snow falling right now, what would your recommendation for location be for someone getting into skiing? And it could be, we just talked about Cooper, but let's assume that it's not they have passes. What mountains are the most beginner accessible for this much snow?
Yeah. So, and again, unfortunately, I would always make these decisions financially. Because, and skiing did that to itself. But if you're taking financial out of the equation, and maybe we can talk about financial out of the equation and in the equation, but first out, Vail or Snowmass.
Keystone.
Okay.
Keystone also. But Vail and Snowmass have put money into beginner areas. There's a place at the top of the gondola at Snowmass, and it's where the elk camp lift goes up, and then there's a beginner lift, and there's a roller coaster, and there's a DJ. And I was telling my parents how cool I thought all that was, and they were like, you should see it in the summer for mountain biking. It's off the hook.
Nice.
But I was like, here's a place that you're all the way up the mountain. So it's at the top of the gondola, which is only halfway up the mountain in this situation. And so you can ride all the way up and then ski on flats. And then there's actually from there's no hard way down.
Nice.
There's no black diamonds. There's nowhere you might get off to the Two Creeks lift by accident, but that's blue and green, or you might end up back down at the gondola, or you could ride the gondola down.
That's it. Yeah. So even if you can't do a green, if you're just doing Bunny Hill stuff, you can go up Bunny Hill and then take the gondola down.
And there's a Bunny Hill lift there, which I don't know the name of because I've never ridden it, but it's like 500 meters of distance and maybe 100 vertical feet.
What about Prospector Trail?
Yeah, I just skied by that the other day, and I was thinking of you. But we were in
It's
a hurry
so
to
much
go
fun.
find the powder, and a pack of kids skied in front of me. So I was like,
I'm out.
yeah, because nothing good can come of that. But then going back, if money matters, or you don't have a ski pass, then we'll go all the way back to Ski Cooper.
or Loveland.
Loveland?
Yeah.
Loveland has an entire beginner area, the valley.
And Eldora.
Yeah, and Eldora. Yeah, they have the beginner area.
What's the place in not Buttermilk that Ryan did recently get to? Sunlight, yeah, up in the Aspen Valley area, you can go to Sunlight, which is they're still independently owned, right?
Yeah, and I'll be honest, it's been years and years since I've skied at Sunlight or Powderhorn. We were talking about it, but they're not just beginner areas.
Yeah, Taz claimed they had great stuff.
They have good stuff at both those places, but from what I know, it's Loveland, it's Ski Cooper, it's Eldora, and if you can get the gyms passed, you can ski at those places for about $100 any day of the week, or 4-packs for Loveland are like $250. We've talked about this stuff, and I think money does matter, because if you save up let's say you got $1,000 for skiing a year, and you go ski at Vail 3 days as opposed to 10 days at Loveland.
Yeah.
I'm going to be the first one to tell you that Vail's a better deal. No, I'm just kidding. Loveland, even for me, I would rather ski Loveland 10 days than Vail for 3 days.
Yeah.
Except for last Saturday.
But a bump.
So I'm going to go 5 days at Loveland, 1 day at Vail. The 1 day was last Saturday.
That's a good strategy, though. And then we talk about it time and time and time again. A big thing that played out this week, and you heard Mel talk about what a great day she had. I had a great day, but it's also because our fitness is there. And now that my fitness is there, I even realize more how important my fitness is, because you can't ski 20 inches of powder in December. I mean, you can, and there's young kids that are like, I do it all the time. I'm 55. And so it's got to be like late February.
You old.
I am. But I'm also a very strong skier, because that was like day 28.
Yeah.
Which isn't a ton, but anyway.
Sweet.
All right.
That's it.
Good luck out there. Be safe.
Episode.
The next episode is episode 30.
That's correct.
Woo!
Got to do something cool for it.
That's 10 times more than we thought.